is what we have been crying for in the state. It's an economic sabotage to our country, where people steal our crude oil, refine illegally, and even without the guarantee of the quality of such products, sell to the people. And some people suffer engine failure and all sorts of problems with their vehicles as a result of these illegal activities. So people must be law-abiding. People must refrain from taking into any activity that will amount to national economic sabotage, criminality and all that. So it is a very wrong thing. That does not mean that I'm not pathetic for the loss of lives associated with the incident. It's unfortunate, but also I want to use that to, through that, advise those who are still in that practice to desist from such action.
It's not the first time we're hearing about illegal refineries in our country, and it's not the first time we're hearing about explosions or fires at any of these illegal refineries. What is shocking is that we continue to hear these stories from time to time, and this one that happened in Imo State, most certainly troubling. Let's have some background and some updates on that story with Declan Emelumba, who is Commissioner for Information in Imo State, as well as Ifeanyi Naji, Head of Operations NEMA in Imo State. Both join us virtually. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Well, let me begin with you, Mr. Commissioner. What is the update of this scenario? We hear, of course, the President has given an order, and the Imo State government has also been speaking about this. What exactly is new?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I must say that, first of all, the state government deeply regrets this incident, and we have already sent our condolences to the bereaved families. Well, right now, we are trying to ensure that, well, first of all, the environment is cleaned and fumigated after the mass burial, which is going to take place today, because, you know, the victims were born beyond recognition, and it's difficult to identify who they are. So the only option left is a mass burial. The gathering of the remains started yesterday, to be concluded today, and the mass burial will take place, after which the environment will be fumigated, so that at least those living around there will be sure of their environmental safety. And so that is the update in terms of what has happened there, what is going to happen there by today.
Well, Mr. Naji, let me ask you as well, because I know that you've been at this and then some information. This question is for Mr. Ifeanyi Naji, Head of Operations, NEMA. I understand that you have been getting some information. I don't know if there is any other update other than the 110 death toll that we heard before. Mr. Ifeanyi Naji, that's for you. Oh, I apologize. I thought he was already there. Well, so, Commissioner, there is a question that's been on my mind since this happened. First of all, perhaps there is a need for people to understand exactly where the location of this occurrence is. We hear it's Abeze, a community in Ohaji Egbema local government area. And a number of people will cast their minds back to a recent occurrence where the governor of Rivers State took a trip into the trenches, as we said earlier, trying to shut down illegal refineries in the area, in the area within his state, and calling on the federal government to do the same. Is this any relationship to that particular area?
Not really. What I know is that this explosion took place in the forest in Ajibom area base, like you said. And the state government has been making very strenuous efforts to contain this illegality. Just about 3 weeks ago, the government set up a committee headed by the Commissioner for Petroleum to collaborate with security officials to stamp out this illegal bunkering. So we have been concentrating on doing whatever should be done to make sure that we stamp out this illegal bunkering, of course, using the security agencies. So, the place is really close to Rivers border. They have a border with Rivers State. So maybe the place that you are referring to could be close to there, but it's not the same.
Well, one other question that comes to mind for me, Honorable Commissioner, is, I mean, you said just 3 weeks ago the state government was trying to get ahead of this occurrence so it doesn't happen. Is this something that is just started, maybe like a month ago? For how long has this been on that the state government has been aware?
Illegal bunkering has always been there. Everybody is aware of that. And efforts have also always been made to chase them out, to stop them. But it's like a black market thing. And as much as you make effort, they will still find a way to continue with what they are doing. And unfortunately, it is our people that patronize them, so they find a way to go ahead. So what the state government did was to have a holistic approach to make sure that the thing is no longer a whimsical thing. Maybe security agencies will go and chase them out, and so to have a committee that will sustain an operation that will make sure that they are stamped out. It's because the thing has been a problem. That was why the committee was set up. And the committee has swung into action. And I'm very, very sure that what has happened now, they will redouble their efforts, and sooner than later, that illegality will be stamped out of the state.
All right. Well, Mr. Ifeanyi Nnaji has since joined us. He is head of operations NEMA in Imo State. Well, thank you for joining us, Mr. Nnaji. Could you give us, are there any further updates, to the information that you already put out? The death toll at the last count was unfortunately 110. Is there an update to that now? What's to happen?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. The death toll still remains 110 as of this morning, after yesterday's activities gathering the remains of those in the field at the site of the explosion for possible mass burial today. So the death toll still remains 110.
Well, there are expectations that mass burial was to happen yesterday. Was there a reason for the delay?
Actually, it's the state government that was that were to arrange for the mass burial. So maybe due to reasons which I do not know, but probably today, I think it's going to happen.
Can you talk to us about the survivors? I mean, so far we've heard about the people who died as a result of this, but what about the survivors? How many survivors do we have from this fire incident?
The survivors there are those that were not at the main site of this illegal oil refinery, because the fire got across everybody, and we were made to understand that when the explosion occurred, it was at the peak of that illegal business at that moment. So anybody that was within the circumference of that area were highly affected, and that was why the severity of that burn was so much, and you could not even recognize or identify anybody that was caught across by that fire. But the survivors, they are just few. There are just few. Those that have high severity of burn, they later died. Like on Sunday, we recorded about 10 deaths as on Sunday as a result of the explosion.
So, just to be clear, can you put a figure to the survivors? Are there maybe 10, 20? Just to be clear.
The survivors, they were taken to different hospitals, and we've been trying to get across those hospitals to get an accurate figure of those that are surviving, which right now we are more interested in trying to do the mass burial, to fumigate that area to avoid any form of epidemic. So which after today we will be able to get the accurate figure of those that are still in the hospital.
This is perhaps not your first time responding to, incidents such as this involving illegal refineries, or what they call poor fire. So, getting to that site, really, what was your reading? What did you see? How much of devastation? Because for a lot of people, they've seen pictures, but not like actually going there and still involved in an ongoing operation. So, what was it like? If you could just give us that background.
It was a gory sight. Getting there, it was pathetic, because looking at human being at that number, trying to imagine this number of people perished in one day, able-bodied men and women perished just like that in one day, is something horrible. I can just say it was a horrible sight to behold.
What is the circumference of the devastation? Because it's been said that yes, there were people involved in the coal fire business, as it is popularly called, the illegal refining activity, and then perhaps there were residents around as well. So what is the circumference? How much of people were affected? Was this isolated to just the people involved, or people staying nearby? Just can you tell us about that as well?
It was isolated area. It was in the middle of the forest. No building close to that area. It is at the middle of the forest, and everybody there at that point came for that business, because we were made to understand there's a point where you wait, there's a point where you go in with your tally, waiting for your turn. So there was a lot of businesses going on at that moment before the explosion. So anybody that was there for the business.
I find that quite curious, really, because from pictures we have seen, seeing buildings erected. Yes, there were some not completed, but there were also story buildings erected in that area. So it was not like a bushy environment where it was just all forest. There were actually buildings, proper civilization in quote. And perhaps I should take this back to the commissioner just to speak to that. The pictures we have seen. So clearly this seemed like an established operation. It wasn't just huts and all. Buildings, concrete buildings. We've seen tankers. You've seen the trucks as well. A lot of vehicles, buses and cars and all of that. So clearly this is an established business. And I imagine that it didn't take just a day to erect those buildings. It must have taken weeks or months. Take a look at those buildings, the vehicles and all of that. So, clearly this is an established business, Commissioner.
Yeah, well, if you call it established business, you are free to do that. But what I know is that it's an illegal business, and it was located in the forest where it happened. And like the NEMA official just said, everybody there went there on illegality to profit from illegality. So the buildings you are seeing are not they are not really as if they are located in the forest. Perhaps you are seeing buildings where maybe people from there move into the forest. You have to go in because there is a black market. They can't do it in the open. So where the explosion took place, where the illegal refineries are located, are in the forest. And that was why, because we understand that the operators had already collected money from these people, and they were to give them supplies when the thing happened. So they collect the money, they gather, waiting for their turn to get the supplies before it happens. So clearly, it's an isolated forest zone where it happens because it's a secret thing that they do. They don't want people to know, except those who have links, who their customers or who profit from what they're doing.
Well, Honorable Commissioner, can you talk to us about efforts that have been made so far to try to get ahead of this? The last we heard was that some individual is on the wanted list of government now. Can you talk to us about that, and how many people are suspected to be a part of this?
There are at least two people who own the refineries that were affected. We understand that actually they were there on that fateful day. After collecting money from the people, they now said they wanted to go and eat. Then before they started dispensing, their boys started dispensing. So when they heard about it, they took off and on the run now. But police is searching, and they are known, they are not strangers, they are from the community. People know them very well. So police agencies have been searching for them, and we believe that it won't take long before they are found.
Say, Honorable Commissioner, that they are not, okay, let me assume that they are also known to the state government. Would I be correct to assume?
Of course, it will be correct in the sense that at least the Honorable Commissioner for Petroleum is from that area. In fact, the thing is within his village. So, and these people are from that area too. So he knows them. He is aware. He knows them. So if he knows them, the government knows them also.
But the reason I asked that question, Honorable Commissioner, is if we have known these individuals to be in illegal business for so long, how come they weren't picked up before this explosion took place?
You know, I try to explain to you, this is an illegal business. It is something that they do, like a hit and run thing. It's done in the dark. Efforts have been on to stop them. Sometimes security operatives will move in and they will run away. Efforts have been on. That was why the government said, okay, there has to be a coordinated collaboration in a formal way, not ad hoc way, in a formal setting, that the government will collaborate with security operatives so that there has to be a continuous monitoring and tracking of these people so that we can stamp out this thing. You know, when you are dealing with criminals, they are masters of their trade. They know how to dodge. But when the team became a menace, government said, no, there must be a way to stop this thing once and for all. That was why that committee was set up. It's just like asking, how do I put it now? In some neighborhoods, people know those who terrorize them in terms of being armed robbers and so on. But the police might find it difficult to get them because they don't know when to come in and when to go out and so on and so forth. But, so knowing them now is not like knowing them that we have been interacting with them. I just told you that the commissioner is from there, and when this thing happened, they mentioned the names of the people, and he said they knows them to have come from the village. So that is why we believe that it is going to be easier for us to be able to get them.
Please explain this if you can, Commissioner. So we've seen the vehicles there, you know, the cars, the trucks, and clearly they weren't dropped on that site. They had to drive all the way, maybe from the city center or wherever, to get there, because eventually they'll still lift the product and head back to wherever it is they're heading to. That's on the one hand. I mean, we've seen buildings. To erect buildings, you have to, get trucks to, ferry the sand, the concrete and all of that, make blocks. So this is not hit and run from all indications. It's not a hit and run kind of arrangement. I mean, this is, again, I use the word established. So are you saying that all of this was happening? I mean, people going back and forth, the trucks also, the trailers going back and forth, without the government seeing or hearing at least anything about this?
You know, you must establish the difference between the trucks and their locations and the location of the illegal refineries. That is very important, because if you see trucks moving up and down, you cannot immediately determine where they are coming from or where they are going. These refineries are not located in an open place. That is the truth of the matter. And until you get in there and they are one of them, that is when you will know that something is happening there. So the place, the NEMA man has just told you, the place where this thing happened is a thick forest, inside the forest. And there is no evidence of any human settlement there. There's no any such evidence. So they are isolated things. Those blocks and buildings you are seeing and the trailers, maybe they're close to that place, but not as close as you think. And it is difficult to really bring a nexus between them, because trucks park so many other places. But the most important thing is that this business is done in the dark and inside the forest. And the place where it is done, there are no buildings. There's no. When people get these things, maybe they get them, then get out, maybe get to a distance and leave them and get away. So that is the truth of the matter.
Also, Ohaji Egbema is home to major oil and gas companies, Shell, Chevron, Walter Smith, and all of that. In fact, the Abezi especially also hosts, operations such as that, the legal one. So we know how lucrative oil is, how government likes to at least have a sense of what it... I mean, there's been a tussle between Rivers and Imo State government about oil wells, whether or not this is owned. So we know how important, this resource, oil, is to state government. So how is it that one was being tapped, just to clear the air, really, because questions abound. So how is it that one was being tapped, consistently? Clearly, this is a huge enterprise without knowledge of government. Really, did you feel that government dropped a ball in that area?
No, I want to make it clear. The government has always been aware that there's illegal bunkering going on, and that is why effort was being made to stamp it out. If government wasn't aware, then there wouldn't have been any effort. But you are dealing with criminals who are masters of their trade in terms of being able to do things in such a manner that they can always escape unnoticed or unseen. So it is not like saying that this thing was happening, whether the government is aware. If government wasn't aware that there was illegal bunkering, nobody would have been talking about it. You mentioned Rivers State, where they went to bust the illegal bunkerings where they were doing it, and so on. So it's there. But you are dealing with a cabal, you are dealing with seasoned criminals. So there must be a way, a coordinated way of fighting them. And that's what government in Imo State has set out to do. So it is not like we didn't know that. Of course, we knew that there was illegal bunkering. That's why we are fighting it and trying to make sure that it's stamped out.
How long has the state government known about it? Is it just about the time this government came into power, or it's been there way before?
The illegal bunkering has always been there. It has always been there. Illegal refinery and so on. It has always been there. This government met it, and we said it must be stamped out. That's the difference. We found the will to stamp it out there. Sometimes people people allege. I don't know how that is true. People are alleged that those who are supposed to protect or bust the crime even collaborate with them, and makes it difficult. But I don't have any evidence to that effect. But I know that it is a thriving illegal business that requires coordinated effort to stamp it out, and that's what the Imo State government is doing.
This last statement that you just made now about that collaboration, as my colleague said, it's a very lucrative business, so it's a lot of money. It's easy to, quote and unquote, compromise some people by giving them some substantial money. I don't think it is difficult for any government anywhere to stop any activity that they are not profiting from. There are those who will allege that there are activities, some of these activities that are perpetuated is because some people of influence, maybe in government or around government, are benefiting from it. How do you respond to them?
Well, if people from government are benefiting from it, government wouldn't be making this concerted effort to stamp it out. That what is important is that we are talking about crime, organized crime, and when you are talking about organized crime, you don't rule out everything. So, and that is why sometimes organized crime is difficult to fight. But all I know and what I can tell you is that there is nobody in this government that is profiting from it. Otherwise, it would have not been possible for the same government to set up a committee, empower the committee to collaborate with security agencies to stamp it out as a matter of mandate. So, but I know that in an organized crime such as illegal bunkering or refinery of crude, so many things come into play, and you are dealing with a well-organized.
Well, Honorable Commissioner, these rhetorics sound quite exciting, right? But at the end of the day, 110 Nigerians have lost their lives because government is trying to do what government is expected to have done to prevent these lives from being lost. And it is most certainly tragic. I'm sure that the state government itself is heartbroken about this. Another leg of collaboration is that the land that these people are using, is that of the land these people are using? Is it government-owned land or private-owned land?
Well, first of all, by the Land Use Act, every land belongs to government, but that land is a community land. And I want to make one point very clear, that it is important for us to know, no matter how sad and regrettable this is, this incident provoked disaster. Everybody who went there on illegality. They went there to sabotage the economy of this country. They went there on illegality. And in as much as the government regrets that they died in the process, but we must also acknowledge the fact that they themselves chose that path, that perilous path, because they knew that what they were doing was very illegal, and they decided to embark on it. It's like somebody who decided to commit suicide. Well, if he dies, you sympathize with him, but it doesn't remove the fact that it's a deliberate decision. So, as much as it's painful, it's not like as if government precipitated it, because they, on their own, decided to be thriving in this illegality, as dangerous as it has always been, and which they are aware of. So we regret the fact that they died, but it doesn't vitiate the fact that the entire exercise was an exercise in illegality and condemnable exercise at that.
Just before I bring in Mr. Naji, I'd like you to answer this one as well. How many arrests have been made in the light of the discovery of this illegal refinery? I was going to call it Bofire, which is the term used a lot there. How many arrests have been made?
Well, I must say that, like, the much I know is that security agencies are on the lookout for the perpetrators, the culprits. I think they will be in a position to know whether they have made any arrests so far or not. If they have not disclosed that to us. But I know that they're on the lookout. They're very, very seriously and tenaciously searching for the culprits, particularly the owners of the two illegal refineries.
How many illegal refineries have you busted in the past? Because you said you've tried to clamp down. How many had you hitherto clamped down on?
It's like something you go in, like I said, maybe you have information that people are doing this somewhere, doing this or doing that there. You move in and try to chase them. They run away, you probably won't find. And you need to do something more than just moving in an ad hoc manner, going to chase them and so on.
So you've never clamped down or busted any, is what you're saying?
There have been one or two occasions where some of them were arrested. You know, there have been one or two occasions. I can't be very specific now, but I know there have been one or two occasions where some of them have been arrested and properly dealt with. But the thing is a widespread thing, and a lot of people are engaged in it. So it is a known fact that the NCDC has arrested some of them in the past and paraded them even. So it's not like we have been sleeping, but like I said, they are very, very determined. These are determined criminals. they are arresting them doesn't stop.
Pardon me, I need to take this to Mr.
So,
Naji. As we close now, pardon me, I need to also get Mr. Naji's thoughts on this. Well, Mr. Naji, tell us about the operation now. Is there still an ongoing, I don't know whether it's called a rescue or recovery operation at the site?
Actually, right now, there's no rescue operation. All the dead bodies on the site have been gathered together for mass burial because we went as far as moving around the bush to find out if there's any possible casualty inside the bush. Like we had on Saturday some running through the bush, trying to run away from the fire. So, but right now, I think we have gotten all the dead bodies gathered together for possible mass burial today.
That it's just thinking about the magnitude of it alone is saddening. But I understand that there's a river close by as well. Was that also responsible for maybe some of the deaths that was recorded at that site?
Yes, there was a river called Orashi River. Due to the heat, some of them tried to run to the river. Unfortunately, some were drowned. It's quite unfortunate. It's a very pathetic story and the situation as it happened in that community.
Is there a possibility that the death toll will rise? Because listening to some of the residents, they believe there were hundreds of people there, but so far the death toll has been put at 110. Is there a possibility that might rise?
Yeah, there's possibility, and we're still on ground trying to do some search with the help of security operatives on ground, and if there's any possibility of seeing any dead body, we still make it public as we continue search and rescue in that area.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ifeanyi Naji, Head of Operations, NEMA in Imo State. Thank you so much for your time this morning, as well as Declan Emelumba, who is Commissioner for Information. Both gentlemen joined us via Zoom. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for the work you're doing for the country.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sunrise Daily continues in a moment. Please stay with us.